What's up, my friends? It is Danny Gallows, of course, who'd you think it was, and welcome back to our next music video. So, for today's topic, I would love to talk to you guys a little bit about how I go about making my lo-fi samples. So a lot of you guys out there will obviously know from listening to my music, if you're big fans of my music, that I enjoy evolving sounds forward. I enjoy being hyper progressive and really pushing the boundaries of chill hop and EDM. And yes, that does fall into lo-fi too. But the problem with the lo-fi community today is, it's becoming terribly generic. And one of the ways that I seek to improve these things is by creating, again, my own unique sounds within the chill hop community. So I thought that I would share with you guys today my process, or just kind of like show you guys basically what I use to create these lo-fi tones and rhythms and sounds and atmospheres. You guys ready to see this amazing piece of music equipment I'm about to pull out? You ready for this? Ready? Check it out. Check it out, yo. That's right. Rogue 10-watt box amp. Vintage, right? Found it on eBay. Rare item. No, just kidding. I found this at a local garage sale right down the street here. It was in somebody's garage. $5. It's coated with mold and mildew and years of dust. There were probably spiders living in it at one point, but I bought it for a specific reason, right? A lot of you guys out there might be going, well, that's really, really bizarre. Why would you ever use that thing for music production? It's very strange, right? But it's not when it comes to lo-fi. See, a problem with a lot of lo-fi artists today is they're obsessed with capturing the lo-fi sound. And that means, producing their samples in such a way that it captures this old vintage kind of AM radio, crinkly old vinyl, tape deck kind of sound. But what will happen is these artists will spend, in some cases, hundreds of dollars to create their samples as kind of like old crappy instruments, give it that vintage sound. They might download new programs or get brand new software or something like that. But they'll spend a lot of time and effort to get their samples to sound crappy. And what I'm saying is, why wouldn't you just get crappy equipment and record it as is? It's like, why are you trying to play lo-fi on your $800 professional studio guitar and then spending all this time and effort trying to get your samples to sound old and crappy and vintage, right? Here's another perfect example right here. This is my Epiphone SG Special that I got, I don't know, years ago, 5 or 6 years ago or something like that. And what I've done to this guitar is you can see that it's kind of crappy, it's missing, one of the inlays right there, right, it's fallen out. The strings are rusted, right? Some of the humbuckers have dust and a little bit of corrosion on them, right? But you know what this guitar does for me? It produces that crappy sound. Again, it's just a real instrument. This doesn't require effects to be put on it. This doesn't require any post-editing. It's just an old, beat-up, crappy guitar with rusted strings and corroded humbuckers, and it's been, sitting in my corner, collecting dust, right? And what that produces for me is it produces a really, really high, tinny, vintage, crappy, kind of sour, almost off-key tone to the guitar that's perfect for lo-fi. And here's a perfect example of that. I'm going to play you guys a section from one of my lo-fi tracks called Ghosts and Sleepovers. Take a listen to this. See? You hear that? You hear how the guitar sounds really, really kind of just, it almost sounds terrible, right? But that's the point, is that it's not fully in tune. It's not resonating. The notes aren't resonating on every single level that they should be, right? The strings are obstructed. The tones are obscured. Everything about it sounds old and crappy and vintage, which is exactly what you want for lo-fi. And yet, at the same exact time, it still sounds really, really beautiful, right? It still sounds gorgeous because it produces these layers, right? You produce layers and layers of these high, tinny, twangy sounds, and it ends up with a certain amount of beauty to it, right? But the point is that I played those on actual instruments. I have a crappy guitar, I have this crappy box amp, right? And that's what produced those sounds. I didn't run the guitar directly into my audio workstation. The guitar was run through my amp, and my amp was mic'd. And that's how I captured the sound. I wasn't just capturing the sound of the guitar itself, but I was also capturing the sound of the amp too. And when combined, what you produce is this really cool, like, garage band effect. You know, I grew up playing in garage bands. I was used to crappy Walmart guitars and box amps. That's what we were playing on when we first started playing music, right? And everybody out there trying to gather these vintage, nostalgic sounds, why don't you just get the equipment? So for any musicians out there who are still actively playing lo-fi and you're looking for new inspiration, I say look into the past for inspiration. Give these instruments a new home. You want to capture that nostalgic sound? You got to buy the nostalgic equipment that we used to play on and record those instruments directly, because that's going to give you the most organic, most natural sound, then vintage sound as well. So that's been my process going about making lo-fi. Now I'd like to hear from you guys. Now I'll turn it over to all of you to leave your thoughts, opinions, and notions down below in the great white void. You know, how do you guys go about making lo-fi? Do you have a similar process? Do you have a specific methods for creating it? Or, you know, do you actually prefer just meddling with and changing your samples in post-production? I want to hear from all you guys. Leave all your thoughts and opinions down below. And as always, until next you may, take care, and I'll see you guys back here for the next video very soon. Peace.